The threat no one stopped. The elevator doors slid open at 11:47 p.m., and Nia Chen stepped into the marble lobby of the residences at Harbor Point, where silence cost $12,000 a month. Marcus was waiting by the concierge desk. She saw him before he saw her. The set of his shoulders, the way his jaw worked like he was chewing on words he'd been saving all evening. Her fingers tightened around her purse strap, calculating exit routes she'd mapped 100 times before. Side door to the parking garage, 30 seconds. Main entrance, 20 feet but the doorman would see. Service hallway behind the mailroom, locked after 10. Baby. His voice was honey poured over gravel. You're late. The manager needed me to close. She kept her tone light, easy. Didn't move toward him yet. Close. He repeated the word like it had another meaning, something darker underneath. With who? The concierge Daniel, mid-50s, kind eyes that had smiled at her every morning for 8 months, suddenly became very interested in his computer screen. The couple waiting for the elevator, the Hendersons from 14C with their yoga mats and green juice glow, stepped inside the moment the doors opened. Didn't hold it for her. Marcus closed the distance between them in 3 strides. His hand found her elbow, gentle to anyone watching. His thumb pressed the nerve just hard enough to send electricity shooting up her arm. I asked you a question. Miguel. The line cook. Same as always. Her voice didn't shake. She'd learned that trick 6 months ago. Miguel. The name sat bitter on his tongue. You smell like fryer grease and lies. The lobby was designed for discretion. Soundproofed walls. Ambient music that swallowed conversations. Lighting positioned to cast everything in warm, forgiving tones. The architect had probably won awards for creating such elegant neutrality, such perfect conditions for pretending. Security guard posted by the entrance Jerome, who'd helped her carry groceries when Marcus was traveling, who had a daughter her age, scrolled through his phone like it required his complete attention. Marcus, I'm exhausted. Can we just what? His fingers tightened. Go upstairs? Talk about your day? Pretend you're not fucking around on me? Mrs. Alvarez from 9B emerged from the garage elevator with her poodle. Saw them. The dog yapped once. She yanked its leash and pivoted toward the mailroom so fast her Louboutins squeaked against marble. Everyone here knew. The walls were thick enough to muffle screams but not thick enough to hide the EMTs who'd come last month. The police who'd knocked on 12G twice before took statements in the hallway and left with nothing because Naya's voice had stayed steady while she explained about the door, the accident, her clumsiness. The building manager had sent a fruit basket, an apology for the disturbance. I love you, Marcus said, and his voice broke just enough to sound like truth. Why do you make me crazy like this? The elevator behind them dinged, opened, empty. No one was coming. Not Daniel, frozen at his desk. Not Jerome, who'd found something fascinating on his phone. Not the Hendersons, or Mrs. Alvarez, or the invisible residents behind their $12,000 doors. Nia stepped into the elevator. Marcus followed. The doors closed on the most public privacy money could buy. The first time Marcus said, I'll handle it, Nia had thought it was love. Her student loan payment late because the restaurant switched payroll systems and her direct deposit bounced. He'd covered it before she could call the bank, kissed her forehead, called her baby in that way that made her feel protected instead of patronized. 6 weeks later, he suggested moving her account to his bank. Better rates. His financial advisor could help. She'd signed papers over mimosas at brunch, his hand warm on her lower back. The money disappeared slowly. Not stolen, reassigned. Joint account became his account, with her name decorative on the paperwork. Her paychecks routed through him first. Groceries on his card. Her phone on his plan. Insurance, streaming services, the gym membership she'd stopped using because he said the trainer looked at her wrong. Why do you need your own credit card? He'd asked once, genuinely confused. We share everything. Her mother stopped calling after the 3rd canceled lunch. Nia had blamed work, exhaustion, the impossible scheduling of a waitress dating a wealth management consultant. The truth was, Marcus needed her home by 7. Needed to know where she was. Needed her location sharing turned on because the city's dangerous, and I worry about you. Her best friend Tasha lasted longer. Made it through 8 months of rescheduled coffee dates and ignored texts before she'd sent one final message. You're not you anymore. When you're ready to remember who that is, call me. Nia had deleted the text, told herself Tasha didn't understand what it meant to build a life with someone, to compromise, to grow up. The first bruise came on their 1-year anniversary. Stupid argument about nothing, whether she'd flirted with the waiter at the restaurant where Marcus had proposed. His hand had shot out before either of them registered the intention, caught her wrist, twisted, left finger-shaped shadows that lasted 4 days. He'd cried, actually cried, bought her a tennis bracelet that cost more than 2 months of her old rent, promised therapy, change, forever apologies. The therapy lasted 3 sessions before he deemed the counselor biased against men. The bruises became more careful after that. Hidden, strategic. Ribs, not arms. Scalp, not face. Once, her inner thigh punishment for wearing a skirt he hadn't pre-approved. Nobody sees there, he'd said, almost thoughtful, like he was solving a puzzle. The monitoring intensified in year 2. Her phone's passcode changed to one he chose. Social media accounts merged, then his alone. Emails forwarded to him automatically, a security measure, he'd explained, after a colleague's girlfriend got hacked. She'd stopped painting. The acrylics and stretched canvases that had filled her college apartment, that had made professors tell her she had something rare, something worth pursuing, all donated when they'd moved into Harbor Point. Not enough space, Marcus had said. And anyway, wasn't she too busy, too tired? The restaurant became her only autonomy. Hours he couldn't monitor because service industry chaos didn't allow for constant texting. Miguel teasing her in Spanglish. Daniel the dishwasher playing bachata too loud in the kitchen. The routine of muscle memory. Table 4 wants extra lemon. Table 9 is allergic to shellfish. The businessman in the corner booth tips 30% if you remember his drink. But even that space was shrinking. Marcus had started showing up during her shifts, sitting at the bar, ordering bourbon, watching, just checking in, he'd say, making sure you're safe. Last month, he'd friended her manager on Facebook. Yesterday, he'd asked why she smelled different when she came home, accused her of wearing perfume. She'd tried to explain it was fryer oil, garlic, the industrial soap they used on their hands. He'd made her shower while he watched, scrubbing until her skin burned. His voice soft and terrible. I just want you clean, baby. Is that so wrong? Now, in the elevator climbing to the 12th floor, Nia watched the numbers tick upward and wondered if there was a floor high enough to escape the weight pressing against her lungs. Marcus's thumb traced circles on her pulse point. Possessive, proprietary. I don't like when you make me feel crazy, he whispered. The elevator was a cage wrapped in mirrors. Everywhere she looked, she saw herself trapped. Elliot Kang had been sitting in Harbor Point's lobby for 43 minutes when the woman in the stained work clothes walked in. He'd come to view the penthouse, a formality, since he'd already decided to buy the building outright. The current owner was leveraged to his eyeballs, desperate enough to accept an all-cash offer 20% below market if it closed quietly. Meridian Group specialized in quiet, in seeing opportunities where others saw complications. The lobby's design was competent, neutral, designed to project wealth without personality, the architectural equivalent of a firm handshake. Elliot had already cataloged the security weaknesses. Blind spot by the mailroom, single point of failure at the concierge desk, cameras positioned for insurance compliance rather than actual surveillance. The security guard had been on his phone for 38 of those 43 minutes. Elliot had noticed the woman immediately. The way she paused in the doorway, scanning. The micro-expression that flashed across her face when she spotted the man by the concierge desk, fear chased by resignation. Smoothed into careful neutrality so quickly most people would have missed it. Elliot didn't miss things. Missing things got you killed in his previous life. before he'd turned violence into venture capital. The man moved toward her, like he had rights to her body, proprietary. The grip on her elbow read as affectionate to the casual observer. The couple by the elevator didn't even glance twice. But Elliot saw the way her shoulder tensed, the way her fingers whitened around her purse strap. He saw the concierge suddenly find his computer screen fascinating. The security guard's phone addiction intensify. The older woman with the poodle execute a tactical retreat. Elliot had spent 15 years in private military contracting before he'd leveraged those connections into legitimate business. He'd extracted hostages from compounds in Kandahar, negotiated with warlords who wore Rolexes and kept severed heads as decor, and once disarmed a bomb while a translator argued about payment terms. He recognized a hostage situation when he saw one. The man's voice carried, despite the ambient music, something about fucking around. Words designed to humiliate in a space designed to absorb sound. The woman's response was too quiet to hear, but her posture told the story. Appeasing, calculating, surviving. The elevator arrived, she stepped inside. The man followed. Elliot was moving before the doors closed. His reflection in the polished marble columns showed what everyone else saw. 6'1", fit but not ostentatious, dressed in the kind of suit that whispered rather than shouted wealth. Black hair cut precisely, Korean features that made people in business meetings reflexively underestimate him until the contracts were already signed. He reached the elevator bank as the numbers climbed. 12. The doors closed. Daniel, the concierge, finally looked up. "Mr. Kang? The penthouse viewing?" "Postpone it." Elliot's voice was calm, pleasant, the voice that made subordinates nervous because they couldn't gauge the threat level. "Which apartment is 12G? "I couldn't possibly." Elliot placed his phone on the marble desk. The screen showed the building's ownership documents, Meridian Group's acquisition offer, and Daniel's employment contract, all pulled up in the 30 seconds it took to cross the lobby. 12G, Elliot repeated, still pleasant, and the names of the residents. Daniel's Adams apple bobbed, Marcus Whitmore, and Nia Chen. "But sir, resident privacy is about to become my concern." Elliot picked up his phone. How long has building security been ignoring disturbances from that unit? The silence answered everything. Elliot had learned patience in Helmand Province, crouched in 120-degree heat, waiting for targets who might never appear. He'd learned strategy in boardrooms where billion-dollar deals pivoted on who blinked first. He'd learned that power wasn't about who could hit hardest. It was about who could make hitting unnecessary. The woman in the elevator had looked at that man the way Elliot's mother had looked at his father 30 years ago in Seoul, before she'd finally gathered the courage to run. Before his father had caught her at the airport. Before Elliot, age 9, had learned that sometimes the only way to stop a monster was to become something worse. He checked his watch. 90 seconds since the elevator doors closed. "Call the police," Elliot said quietly. "Tell them you have a domestic disturbance report on 12. Then give me the override key for that elevator." "Mr. Kang." "Now, Daniel." The key landed in Elliot's palm. He pressed the call button and waited, patient as death, for the elevator to return. The apartment door was 3 feet away when Marcus's hand moved from Nia's elbow to her throat. Not choking. Not yet. Just resting there, his thumb against her windpipe like a promise, like a reminder of how quickly air becomes privilege. "Keys," he said. Her hands shook, fishing them from her purse. The keychain, a small paintbrush charm, last remnant of who she'd been clinked against metal. She couldn't get the key in the lock. "Jesus Christ, Nia." Marcus snatched them from her, his other hand still collar loose around her neck. "You're so fucking useless when you're tired." The hallway was silent. Cream walls, sconce lighting, a framed print of the harbor at sunset every 20 feet. Tasteful, identical, designed to give residents nothing to remember. Apartment 12F's door opened a crack. Mrs. Patterson, 70-something, who'd lived here since the building went condo in 2008. Their eyes met. Mrs. Patterson's door clicked shut. The lock turned. Marcus pushed the door open, pulling Nia with him into the dark apartment where no one would hear whatever came next. Then the elevator dinged. Marcus froze. His grip loosened fractionally, not release, but distraction. They both turned. The elevator doors slid open. The man who stepped out wasn't building security, wasn't police, wasn't any of the neighbors who'd perfected the art of not seeing. He was tall, dressed like he'd just left a corporate dinner, and he moved with the kind of calm that suggested violence was a tool he kept maintained but rarely needed. 90 seconds, the man said. His voice was quiet, almost conversational. He spoke English with the barest hint of an accent, something smoothed down, but not erased. That's how long it took me to realize no one else was going to do anything. Marcus's hand dropped from Nia's throat. Who the fuck are you? Someone who's going to save you from a felony assault charge. The man's eyes dark. Patient moved to Nia. If you're lucky. This is a private hallway. The man gestured around them. Public space in a building I'm about to own, which makes this my concern. Marcus laughed, but it came out wrong. Too high. You're going to own Harbor Point? Do you know what units go for here? I'm purchasing the entire property, Meridian Group. We close in 72 hours. He said it like discussing the weather. Which means I have a vested interest in ensuring my future tenants aren't committing domestic violence in my future hallways. The name Meridian Group hit Marcus like cold water. Nia watched recognition flicker across his face. She'd seen that look before, when his boss had walked into the restaurant once and Marcus had gone rigid with the particular fear of someone who'd just realized how small they actually were. This is a misunderstanding, Marcus said, and his voice had changed, smoother, the consultant voice he used for clients. My fiancé and I were you just what? The man took one step forward. Just one. Explain it to me. Marcus's hand moved toward Nia again, territorial, claiming, and the man was suddenly there, between them, without seeming to have crossed the distance. Don't. One word. No volume. Just certainty. Listen. Marcus reached out, maybe to push past him, maybe to grab Nia, and the man caught his wrist mid-motion. The movement was precise, clinical, the kind of restraint that suggested extensive training in how to hurt people efficiently. Kang Meridian Group, the man continued, still holding Marcus's wrist at an angle that looked casual but made Marcus's breathing change, owns security firms, property management companies, and a legal team that specializes in personal protection orders. We also maintain relationships with every major law enforcement agency in the state. He released Marcus's wrist. Marcus stumbled back. So, when I suggest you leave this hallway right now, understand that I'm not threatening you. I'm giving you information so you can make an informed choice. His smile was polite, distant. You have two options. Walk away, or wait for the police currently en route to have a conversation about the bruises I can see on Miss Chen's arm from here. Nia's hand moved reflexively to her elbow, covering the finger-shaped marks. You don't know what you're... Marcus started. I know exactly what I'm interrupting. The man's voice went colder. I grew up watching my father do this to my mother. The escalation pattern. The public-private switch. The way everyone pretends not to see, because it's easier than getting involved. He turned to Nia then, and his expression shifted into something gentler. Not pitying, just human. Miss Chen, do you want to leave with him? The question hung in the air like a live wire. Behind them, elevator doors opened. Two police officers stepped out. Daniel must have made the call. The hallway suddenly felt crowded. Mrs. Patterson's door cracked open again. The Hendersons emerged from 12C, watching. Everyone was watching now. The man, Elliot Kang, Meridian Group, someone with the kind of power that made Marcus's face drain white, asked again, quieter this time, do you want to leave with him? And Nia, who'd spent 3 years making herself smaller, found something sharp and bright in her chest. No, she whispered. Then louder. No. The word hung in the air like broken glass, beautiful and dangerous, and impossible to take back. Marcus's face went through 3 expressions in 2 seconds. Shock, rage, and then something worse. The look he got when he was calculating. When he was deciding how much damage he could do before anyone stopped him. Baby. His voice dropped into that register, the one he used during apologies, during sex, during the moments right before violence, when he'd pet her hair and tell her he loved her more than breathing. You don't mean that. You're tired. You're confused. She said no. Elliot hadn't moved, but somehow he'd positioned himself more firmly between them. A wall with a pulse. Officers, this is Marcus Whitmore, apartment 12G. Miss Chen is his former fiancée. She's indicated she doesn't feel safe. The older officer, Ramirez, according to his nameplate, pulled out a notebook. His partner, younger, kept one hand near his belt, not on his weapon, but close. Mr. Whitmore, we're going to need you to step back, Ramirez said. This is insane. Marcus's consultant mask was cracking. Naya, tell them this is our home. Tell them it's his home. Nia's voice shook, but the words kept coming. 3 years of swallowed sentences forcing their way up her throat. My name isn't on the lease. He wouldn't let me sign it. That's not, we discussed that. For tax purposes, my paycheck goes to his account. My phone is on his plan. I can't. She stopped, breathed. Elliot was watching her with an expression she couldn't name. Not pity. Something cleaner. I can't access my own money. Mrs. Patterson had emerged fully from 12F now, standing in her doorway with her arms crossed. The Hendersons whispered to each other. Down the hall, more doors cracked open. The building's silence, its polite, expensive discretion was fracturing. Miss Chen, do you have injuries? Ramirez asked. Marcus lunged forward. Not toward Nia, toward Elliot, fist already swinging. Amateur hour. Elliot stepped inside the punch, redirected the momentum, and had Marcus face first against the wall in under 2 seconds. One hand pinning Marcus's wrist behind his back, the other flat between his shoulder blades. Don't, Elliot said mildly. You'll just make this worse. The younger officer moved in, taking over the restraint. Handcuffs clicked. Marcus was screaming now about lawyers, lawsuits. Who did they know who he was, who his family was? And Nia felt something crack open inside her chest. Not relief, not yet, just space. Room to breathe that hadn't existed seconds ago. Miss Chen. Ramirez had kind eyes, tired eyes. The eyes of someone who'd taken this call before, who knew how it usually ended. Can you show me your injuries? She pulled up her sleeve. The fingerprint bruises on her elbow looked darker under the hallway's LED lighting. She turned slightly, lifted her shirt just enough to show the mottled purple along her ribs from 3 days ago. The split lip she'd covered with lipstick, faded now. Mrs. Patterson made a noise. Low, wounded. I have photographs, Elliot said quietly. Time-stamped from tonight. The interaction in the lobby. The grip. If you need corroboration. Ramirez looked at him. You witnessed the initial contact? I witnessed enough. Elliot's voice was flat, professional. Miss Chen displayed signs of distress. Mr. Whitmore exhibited controlling behavior consistent with domestic violence patterns. When they entered the elevator, I followed. The building concierge can confirm the timeline. You just happened to be here? The younger officer sounded skeptical. I'm purchasing the building. I was here for a viewing. Elliot pulled out his phone, showed them something, probably documents, proof. I've spent 15 years in private security. I know what escalation looks like. Marcus was still shouting. His voice had gone ragged. Animal. Nia, you bitch! You ungrateful! That's enough. Ramirez nodded to his partner. Let's take Mr. Whitmore downstairs. Get his statement separately. They dragged him toward the elevator. He fought, heels skidding on carpet. His voice echoed off the walls. She's lying! She's fucking lying! Nia, I'll kill you! The elevator doors closed on the threat. Silence rushed back in, heavier than before. Nia's knees went liquid. She caught herself against the wall, gasping. 3 years. 3 years of holding her breath, making herself acceptable, believing if she just tried harder, Loved better. Smoothed down her sharp edges. Hey, Elliot's voice. Close, but not touching. Look at me. She did. His face was carefully neutral. No judgment. No savior complex. Just a man who'd decided to do something when no one else would. You need to breathe, he said. In through your nose. 4 counts. Hold it. Out through your mouth. 6 counts. She followed his rhythm. Her vision steadied. Mrs. Patterson was crying. Actually crying. I'm so sorry, the old woman whispered. We all heard. I'm so sorry. Miss Chen. Ramirez had returned. You can't stay here tonight. Do you have somewhere safe? Did she? 3 years of isolation. Who was left? I can arrange a hotel, Elliot said. Security. A lawyer, if you need one. I don't even know you, Nia managed. No, he agreed. But I know enough. And I'm offering help with no strings. You can accept it or not. She looked at him, really looked. Saw the expensive suit, the careful posture, the eyes that had seen things he'd never talk about at parties. Saw someone who'd intervened not because he wanted something, but because he couldn't live with doing nothing. Okay, she said. Okay. Elliot pulled a card from his pocket. Simple. Black text on cream stock. My number. Call any time. I'll have someone collect your things tomorrow. Things he can't access or destroy. Ramirez was talking about protection orders, court dates, victim services. Nia heard maybe half of it. Everything felt distant, wrapped in cotton. Unreal. In the elevator, Elliot said nothing. Just stood beside her as they descended, as the numbers ticked down, as she left behind the cage wrapped in marble and silence. The lobby was crowded now. Daniel looking stricken. Jerome, the security guard, pretending he hadn't ignored everything. Residents clustering, whispering. Elliot walked her past them all, out into the night, into air that tasted like freedom and terror in equal measure. Thank you, Nia whispered. Don't thank me yet, Elliot said. This part is easy. The next 90 days will be harder. But when she looked up at the building, at the windows glowing like cells, like expensive prisons, she thought maybe hard was better than safe. Maybe she'd been safe enough for one lifetime. The hotel room was nicer than anywhere Nia had stayed in 3 years. Not expensive, nice, Elliot had explained in the car, that too visible would be counterproductive. Mid-range chain. Business travelers. Cameras in the parking lot and lobby. 3rd floor. Exit strategy options. Credit card in a name Marcus wouldn't recognize. One of my security managers will check on you in the morning, Elliot had said outside her door. His name is June. He'll help coordinate getting your belongings. I don't have much. Nia's voice had sounded strange. Hollow. He didn't. I couldn't. Whatever you had, we'll get. Elliot had handed her a phone. Prepaid. Your number is programmed. Mine. Jun's. A crisis hotline. Don't use your old phone. He can track it. Now, alone, Nia sat on the bed that smelled like industrial detergent and stared at the walls. The TV was on. Local news. She wasn't watching. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. 3 hours ago, she'd been terrified in an elevator. 2 hours ago, she'd said no. 1 hour ago, she'd watched Marcus dragged away, screaming threats that might become promises. And now she was here, in a room that wasn't a cage, and her brain couldn't process the shift. The phone Elliot gave her buzzed. Unknown number. This is June Park. Meridian Group Security. I'll be outside your hotel at 8 a.m. We'll make a plan. You're safe tonight. Get some rest if you can. She typed back. Thank you. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then, you did the hard part. The rest is logistics. Logistics. Like her entire life could be reduced to coordination and scheduling. Like 3 years of psychological dismantling could be packed into boxes and relocated. Her old phone sat on the nightstand, powered off, but not dead. She knew what would happen if she turned it on. 70 messages. Voicemails. Marcus cycling through rage and apology. Threats and promises. The pattern she'd memorized like choreography. I love you. You're overreacting. How could you do this to me? Baby, please. I'll change. I'll kill you if you don't come back. You're nothing without me. The script never changed, only the intensity. She picked up the phone, not to turn it on, just to hold it. This device that had stopped being hers months ago. He'd installed tracking software, read her texts, monitored her calls. She'd known and she'd let him, because fighting meant bruises and silence meant survival. Nia carried the phone to the bathroom, placed it in the plastic ice bucket, and filled it with water. Watched the screen stay dark as the device drowned. It felt like nothing. It felt like everything. Morning came clinical and fast. June Park was exactly where he'd promised. Parking lot, 8 a.m., driving a nondescript sedan that probably cost more than her yearly salary. He was mid-30s, Korean-American, built like someone who'd spent significant time in a gym designed for function rather than aesthetics. His handshake was firm. His eyes scanned the parking lot twice before he opened her door. "How'd you sleep?" he asked. "I didn't." Expected. He pulled into traffic. "Here's the plan. Your apartment, his apartment, was cleared this morning. Marcus posted bail at 6 a.m. He's not allowed within 500 feet of you or the residence pending the hearing. But men like him don't always respect paperwork." Nia's stomach dropped. "He's out?" "Out, but monitored. We have someone watching. If he violates the order, he goes back in." June's voice was matter-of-fact, calming. "We're not going to the apartment. Too risky. Instead, we're meeting your building manager at a storage facility. Neutral location. You'll inventory what you want. We'll coordinate retrieval. He'll destroy everything. He'll try. That's why we moved fast." June glanced at her. "Elliot made some calls last night. The building management company is very motivated to cooperate with their future owner. Your belongings were photographed and documented at 7 a.m. Anything Marcus damages now becomes evidence and a civil claim." The storage facility was industrial, concrete and metal. June led her to a unit where her life had been condensed into labeled boxes. It was almost funny. 3 years, 12 boxes, clothes, toiletries, documents. The building manager, a nervous woman named Patricia, explained. "We couldn't take furniture, but personal effects, photos, anything that seemed important." Nia opened the first box. Her painting supplies, the ones she'd thought Marcus donated, brushes, acrylics, sketch pads, hidden in the back of his closet, apparently. Waiting for what? Permission she'd never asked for? The second box held photo albums. Her mother, college friends, Tasha grinning at a bar, arm around Nia's shoulders, both of them young and stupid and whole. "He kept these?" Nia's voice cracked. Patricia looked uncomfortable. They were in a locked cabinet. Maybe he forgot? No, men like Marcus didn't forget. He'd kept them as leverage, as proof of what he'd taken, as things he could destroy if she ever tried to leave. June's phone buzzed. He stepped away, listened, came back grim. "Marcus just violated the order. Showed up at the apartment building. Police are en route." "What? Do I?" "Nothing. You do nothing. That's the point." June's expression was hard. "He's making choices. Choices that have consequences. You're not responsible for managing his behavior anymore." Patricia handed Nia a folder. "Your documents. Birth certificate, social security card, passport. We also included bank statements from before the joint account. Evidence of financial abuse." Evidence. The word felt clinical. Clean. Like 3 years of erasing herself could be summarized in spreadsheets. "There's one more thing," Patricia said carefully. "Mr. Kang wanted me to tell you. Meridian Group maintains several residential properties. If you need temporary housing, furnished, secure, he can arrange it, no cost. Just until you're stable." "Why?" Nia looked at June. "Why is he doing this?" June was quiet for a moment. Then, "You'd have to ask him. But I've worked for Elliot for 8 years. He doesn't do charity. He does corrections. When he sees something broken, something that shouldn't be broken, he fixes it." A pause. His mother didn't make it out. Maybe that's reason enough. The apartment Elliot arranged was small. 1 bedroom, top floor of a renovated building in a neighborhood Nia used to love, before Marcus had decided it was too dangerous. too far, too anything that meant freedom. Hardwood floors, windows that actually opened, a kitchen with counter space, and a view of the street. No one had the keys but her. June did a security walkthrough, tested the locks, showed her the panic button system, explained that building security had her photo, and Marcus's he wouldn't get past the lobby. "You're going to feel paranoid for a while," June said. "That's normal. Your brain is recalibrating threat assessment. It'll take time." When he left, Nia stood in the center of her living room and cried. Not sad crying, not relief crying. Just the kind of crying that came from realizing she'd been holding her breath for 3 years and had finally been allowed to exhale. Her phone, the new one, buzzed. Elliot Kang, "June says you're settled. If you need anything, call. If you don't need anything, that's fine too. You owe me nothing. EK." She stared at the message, at the careful distance in his words, the boundaries. Then she set up her easel by the window and painted until her hands stopped shaking. Marcus violated the protection order 3 more times in 2 weeks. Each time, he was arrested. Each time, his lawyer got him released. Each time, the conditions got stricter, the leash shorter, until he was fitted with an ankle monitor and confined to his apartment pending trial. Nia knew this because June sent daily updates, clinical, factual, subject attempted contact via third party, police notified, no action required on your part. She started to understand. Elliot's network wasn't protecting her through violence. It was protecting her through paperwork, documentation, legal consequence, making it more expensive for Marcus to reach her than to leave her alone. It was working. Slowly. Like watching a forest fire burn itself out. Her mother called on day 16. The number showed up on Nia's new phone as unknown, but she answered anyway. "Baby?" Her mother's voice. Mississippi accent. Warm and worried. "Baby, is this you?" Nia hadn't spoken to her mother in 14 months. "Mama." "Oh, thank God. Thank God." Her mother was crying. "I got a message yesterday from some man named June. Said you were safe. Said you'd call when you could. What happened? Where have you been?" So Nia told her. Some of it. The parts that wouldn't break her mother's heart worse than it was already breaking. When she finished, her mother was quiet for a long time. Then, "I'm coming to get you." "Mama?" "No. Don't you mama know me. I let that boy keep you from me. I let it happen because I thought, I don't know what I thought, that you knew what you were doing. That it wasn't my business." Her voice turned steel. "I was wrong. I'm getting on a plane. Tonight. I have an apartment. I'm safe. There's security. Good. Then I'll stay with you and meet the security. And if that man comes near you, he'll have to go through me first." Nia laughed. Actually laughed. It felt strange in her chest, like a muscle she'd forgotten how to use. "Okay, Mama." Her mother arrived 36 hours later with 2 suitcases and a fury that made June visibly recalibrate his threat assessment when they met in the lobby. "You're the one keeping my daughter safe?" her mother demanded. "I'm part of the team, yes, ma'am." "Good. You keep doing that." She pointed at him. "You fail, I'll make you regret it." June almost smiled. Understood. Tasha came on day 23. Nia had texted her from the new number. "It's Nia. New phone. Long story. Coffee?" The response was instant. "Address. Now." They met at a cafe 3 blocks from Nia's apartment. Neutral ground. Public. Tasha walked in, looking exactly the same. Locks pulled back, nose ring, vintage leather jacket, and exactly different. Older in the eyes. Sadder. She sat down without ordering. Stared at Nia. "I thought you were dead," Tasha said. "I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Don't you dare apologize to me." Tasha's voice shook. "I should have come for you. Should have showed up. Should have called the cops myself. I thought if I gave you space, you'd figure it out. But I should have known space was the last thing you needed. You tried. I pushed you away. Because he made you." Tasha reached across the table, grabbed Nia's hand. "Are you out? Are you really out?" "I'm out." And he's not coming back? He's trying, but there's people helping, making sure he can't. Tasha absorbed this. People like the guy in the suit who was watching us from across the street when I walked in. Nia glanced over. Sure enough, one of June's team, sitting with a newspaper, positioned for clear sightlines. Yeah, Nia said. People like that. Tasha nodded slowly. Good. That's good. She squeezed Nia's hand harder. Whatever you need, wherever you go, I'm here. You hear me? I'm here. The restaurant called on day 30. Miguel, the line cook, his voice thick with concern. Mija, where you been? Manager says you quit, just didn't show up. That's not you. I'm sorry, Miguel. I should have called. You okay? You safe? Such a simple question, such a complicated answer. I'm safe, she said. I'm not coming back, but I'm safe. That pendejo? Miguel's voice went dark. He hurt you? He won't anymore. Silence. Then, good. You need anything? Money? Place to stay? Someone to break his legs? You call me? She laughed despite herself. I will. You paint again? You let me know. I want to buy one. Hang it in my house. The words stuck in her throat. Yeah, okay. On day 45, June knocked on her door at 7 p.m. He's gone, June said without preamble. Nia's heart stopped. Gone? Skipped bail. Cut the ankle monitor. Disappeared. June's expression was carefully neutral. Police issued a warrant. We've flagged his credit cards, phone, known associates. He won't get far, but he's out there. He's running. That's different than hunting. June stepped inside. But we're increasing security. I'll have someone posted on this floor. Elliot wants to see you, if you're comfortable. Elliot? Why? Because this is where it gets complicated. Jun's jaw tightened, and he wants you to know exactly what you're walking into. Elliot's office wasn't what Nia expected. Not a sterile high-rise with glass and steel. Instead, a renovated warehouse in the arts district. Brick walls and exposed beams. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. One side of the space was clearly workspace desks, monitors, people moving with purpose. The other side was something else. Art, sculptures, a wall of paintings that made Nia stop breathing. You collect, she said. Elliot looked up from his desk. He'd traded the suit for dark jeans and a black Henley. More human, more dangerous, somehow, without the corporate armor. I invest, he corrected, in things that matter. Artists who deserve better than waiting tables because the world doesn't value what they make. He gestured to a chair. Nia sat. June said Marcus ran. He did. Which means he's desperate. Desperate men make stupid choices. Elliot leaned back. I need you to understand something. What I did intervening, providing security, resources that was the easy part, the part I can control. And now it gets personal. His expression was unreadable. Marcus will escalate. He'll try to reach you through people you care about. He'll make threats. He might even try to hurt himself to manipulate you into contact. These are standard patterns. I know, Nia said. I've lived them. Yes, but you've never lived them with someone like me involved. Elliot's voice went quieter. Meridian Group isn't just property management. We provide security for high-risk clients, witness protection coordination, asset recovery in hostile territories. I have resources Marcus can't imagine, and if he pushes hard enough, I'll use them. What does that mean? It means I can make him disappear in ways that are completely legal but utterly effective. Elliot met her eyes. But it also means you'll be in my world, subject to scrutiny, association. People will ask who you are, why I'm protecting you. Some will assume you're leverage. Others will assume you're a transaction. And what am I? Someone who deserves better than what happened. He paused. Someone I'd like to know better, if you're willing. The honesty of it hit her sideways. No pretense. No savior complex. Just truth. Why me? Nia asked. You could have called the police and walked away. Why this? Elliot stood, moved to the window. For a long moment, he just stared at the river. My father was a diplomat, respected, connected. My mother was an artist, painter, like you. His voice was flat, practiced. He controlled everything, where we lived, who we saw, how she spent her time. I watched her get smaller for 10 years. Elliot. When I was 12, she tried to leave, got us to the airport, Tokyo. He found us before we could board. He turned back. I haven't seen her since. He sent her somewhere, facility, institution, I don't know. Erased her. And no one stopped him because he had power and she had nothing. Nia couldn't breathe. I'm sorry. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm explaining why I don't walk away. Why I can't. His eyes were dark, empty in a way that suggested years of very expensive therapy. I built this company to have the kind of power my father had, but I use it differently. To fix things. To correct things, he said. When the system fails, when people with resources ignore people without, I step in. That's not a healthy coping mechanism, Nia said. No, Elliot agreed. But it's mine. They looked at each other. Two people shaped by violence they didn't choose. If I stay in your orbit, Nia said slowly, what does that look like? Honestly, I don't know. Elliot moved back to his desk, pulled out a folder. I can offer you a job. Administrative, gallery coordination, whatever fits. Salary, benefits, space to paint. No expectations beyond professionalism. And personally, I'd like to have dinner. Get to know you outside crisis. See if there's something worth exploring when we're not in emergency mode. He slid the folder across. But I need you to understand. My world has sharp edges. People I've made enemies of. Risks that come with proximity. You choose this. You choose complications. Nia opened the folder. Employment contract. Apartment lease in her name only. Bank account details. Documentation of everything Marcus had taken, laid out in careful legal language. You're offering me my life back. I'm offering you options, Elliot said. What you do with them is yours. She looked at the paintings on his wall. Really looked. Saw the signatures. Emerging artists. People given chances. People whose work mattered to someone with resources, who decided to care. Dinner, Nia said. Let's start with dinner. Elliot almost smiled. Friday. They ate at a Vietnamese restaurant in a neighborhood Marcus had forbidden. Pho and summer rolls and conversation that had nothing to do with violence. Elliot asked about her painting, about what she'd wanted before everything got derailed, about the art school applications she'd abandoned. Nia asked about his work, the non-security parts, the investments, the artists he'd discovered, the gallery show he was planning. It was normal, almost boring, and it was the best evening Nia had experienced in 3 years. Walking back to her apartment, Elliot kept careful distance, didn't reach for her hand, didn't assume. Thank you, Nia said outside her building. For dinner? For not making this complicated. It's already complicated, Elliot said. I just don't think you need someone adding to it. He left her at the lobby door. June materialized from somewhere, nodded at her, and followed Elliot to a car Nia hadn't noticed was waiting. Inside her apartment, Nia's mother was watching a cooking show. How was your date? Not a date? Dinner. Her mother gave her a look. Baby, that man looks at you like you're the only thing in the room worth seeing. That's a date. Nia thought about the careful distance, the respect, the way Elliot had asked permission before everything, even casual touches. Maybe, she said. Good, her mother said. You deserve someone who asks. 3 months later, Nia had her first gallery showing. Not a major venue, a small space in the arts district, the kind of place emerging artists use to build portfolios. But it was hers, her work, her name on the promotional materials. Elliot had offered the space through Meridian's Arts Foundation. No strings, just opportunity. The opening was small, intimate. 50 people circulating through a room of her paintings, abstracts in acrylics. Violence and beauty tangled together Every canvas a processing of the past 3 years. Her mother stood by the entrance, beaming. Tasha had brought friends. Miguel from the restaurant showed up in his one good suit, grinning. And Elliot stood in the corner, watching not the art but the room. Still scanning for threats. Still ready. They hadn't defined what they were yet. Partners felt too formal. Dating felt too casual. They'd settled into something that worked. Dinners twice a week, museum visits, conversations that ranged from surface level to soul deep depending on the day. He'd kissed her once, outside a bookstore, and asked if it was okay after the fact. She'd laughed and kissed him back properly. Nia was halfway through explaining her process to a potential buyer when June appeared at Elliot's elbow, whispered something. Elliot's expression went cold. He crossed to Nia, calm. But she knew him now, knew what that particular flavor of calm meant. Marcus is here, Elliot said quietly. Outside. June's calling the police. Nia's first instinct was flight, evacuation, hide. Her second instinct was rage. How long has he been out there? 10 minutes. He's just watching. Through the window. She turned, saw him, thinner, ragged, standing across the street like a ghost, haunting her new life. I'm going out there, Nia said. Absolutely not. I'm going. She looked at Elliot. With you. With June. With witnesses. But I'm done hiding. Elliot studied her, saw something that made him nod. Okay, but if he moves toward you, we extract. No arguments. They walked out together. June flanked left. Another security officer Nia had never noticed materialized on the right. Marcus watched them approach. He looked hollowed out. 3 months of running, of consequences, of losing control had carved him down to essentials. Nia, his voice cracked. Please, just talk to me. No, 5 minutes. I just need 5 minutes. No, she said again. Louder. Passers-by were stopping, watching. You don't get my time. You don't get my words. You don't get anything. I love you. You never loved me. You loved controlling me. You loved making me small enough to fit in the box you built. Nia's voice was steady, clear. But I don't fit anymore. Everything I did was because I cared. You broke my ribs because you cared? You isolated me from my family because you cared? She stepped forward. June moved with her. You stole 3 years because you cared? Marcus's face twisted, the mask finally cracking completely. You ruined my life. You destroyed everything. No, you did that. Every choice, every violation, every time you decided your feelings mattered more than my safety. Nia felt something settle in her chest. Final. Complete. I'm not afraid of you anymore. You should be. His hand moved to his pocket. June was already moving, tackling Marcus before whatever he'd been reaching for cleared fabric. Police sirens wailed closer. Officers emerged from vehicles, taking control. Elliot touched Nia's elbow. Gentle. You okay? She was shaking. But not from fear, from adrenaline. From the sheer relief of finally saying everything she'd swallowed for 3 years. I'm good, she said. They walked back inside. Behind them, Marcus screamed her name. Threats. Promises. The same old script. But Nia didn't turn around. Inside the gallery, conversation had stilled. Everyone watching. Her mother looked ready to commit murder. Tasha had her phone out, recording everything. The potential buyer from earlier approached carefully. Is everything? Should we? Everything's fine, Nia said. Where were we? The creative process? Slowly, carefully, the party restarted. Elliot stayed close. Not hovering, just present. That was brave, he said. That was necessary. Nia looked at her paintings, at the violence and beauty she'd made from breaking. I'm not a victim anymore. I'm just someone who survived. More than survived, Elliot said. You're thriving. The buyer decided on 3 paintings. Paid more than asking. Nia's mother cried happy tears. Tasha organized an after-party. And later, much later, when the gallery was empty and the night was quiet, Elliot drove Nia home and walked her to her door. He'll be charged with stalking, violation of protection order, and whatever he was reaching for, Elliot said. His lawyer is out of miracles. He's going away for a while. Good. You don't sound satisfied. Because it's not about him anymore. Naya unlocked her door, turned. It's about me. Building something that's mine. Figuring out who I am when I'm not managing someone else's violence. And who are you? She smiled. Still figuring it out. But I'm getting closer. Elliot kissed her forehead. Careful. Respectful. Take your time. I'll be here. Inside her apartment, Nia stood by the window and looked out at the city. At the lights and possibilities. At the life she was rebuilding from scratch. Marcus was gone. Not dead. Not disappeared. Just irrelevant. And she was here. Whole. Unbroken. Ready to paint something beautiful.